Ladies and gentlemen, how often do we struggle with letting go? How often do we wrestle with the desire to control every aspect of our lives, our career, relationships, health, and future? We are constantly trying to steer the ship, set the course, and hold everything in place. But here's the truth: there's only so much we can control. And there comes a time in life when the best thing we can do is to release everything into the hands of the one who holds the universe. Today, I want to speak to you about the power of surrendering control and leaving everything in God's hands. Understanding control and surrender. In life, there exists a delicate balance between control and surrender. We often find ourselves caught between these two forces, unsure of when to hold tight and when to let go. There are times when we believe that control is the answer, that if we only manage every detail, every moment, every action, then we will somehow ensure the outcome we desire. We strategize, plan, and exert effort, convinced that success is only possible through our unwavering control. But then there are those other times when, despite our best efforts, we realize that there are things beyond our grasp, things that cannot be manipulated or forced into place. It is in these moments that we must come to terms with surrender. Understanding control and surrender means recognizing that both forces have a role in our journey. Control, in its essence, is not about domineering over life, but about taking ownership of the choices we make. It is about being intentional with our actions and decisions, ensuring that we remain aligned with our values and goals. Control is empowering. It gives us the confidence to move forward, to set boundaries, and to steer the direction of our lives. It teaches us discipline, focus, and responsibility. However, we must also acknowledge that our control has limits. No matter how hard we try, there are external factors that we simply cannot influence. This is where surrender comes in. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness or passivity, but it is far from that. Surrender is the art of trusting that not everything is meant to be controlled. It is the courage to release the need for perfection, to acknowledge that life will unfold in its own time and way, often in ways that we cannot predict. Surrender is the freedom to embrace uncertainty, to allow ourselves to be guided by forces greater than our individual will. It is the humility to recognize that sometimes the best way forward is not through pushing and forcing, but through allowing and receiving. The challenge lies in knowing when to control and when to surrender. It is not always clear-cut. There will be moments when the answer is to take charge, to stand tall, and assert yourself with unwavering confidence. But there will also be moments when the answer is to pause, to step back, and to trust that the universe or your higher self knows the way. These moments of surrender are not about giving up, but about releasing the attachment to a specific outcome and allowing things to unfold naturally. Imagine for a moment the way water flows. When it encounters an obstacle, it doesn't resist or fight, it simply surrenders to the path of least resistance. Yet, it doesn't remain stagnant. It continues to float persistently and gracefully, carving new paths and creating new opportunities. In the same way, we must learn to flow with life, trusting that we are being carried toward where we need to be, even if the journey is not what we expected. There is immense strength in surrender. It takes strength to trust in the unknown, to step into the mystery of life without knowing what comes next. It takes courage to let go of the illusion of control and to be vulnerable enough to accept that some things are beyond our understanding. But in that vulnerability lies true power. The power of surrender is the power of trust in ourselves, in others, and in the greater plan at work in our lives. When we surrender, we open ourselves to new possibilities, new experiences, and new growth. This is not to say that we should live without effort or intention. Control, when used wisely, is a powerful tool for growth and achievement. But control should not come at the expense of our peace or our ability to adapt. We must find harmony between the two. When we take control, we do so with purpose, but when we surrender, we do so with grace. It is the balance between action and acceptance, effort and ease. As you move forward in your own journey, remember that control and surrender are not opposing forces, they are partners. You need both to create the life you desire. Take control of the aspects that are within your reach, those that align with your purpose and vision. But when you reach the limit of your control, know when to surrender. Trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by. And in those moments of surrender, you will find the peace, strength, and clarity to move forward with even greater wisdom and resilience. So ask yourself today, where in your life are you clinging to control, and where can you surrender? What would happen if you allowed yourself to trust more deeply, to release the need to micromanage every moment? What if, instead of struggling, you let life guide you to where you're supposed to be? Let go of the fear that holds you back and embrace the beauty of both control and surrender. Let them work together, and you will find yourself stepping into a life of greater purpose, peace, and fulfillment. The limitations of human strength. Today we embark on a journey to explore something that affects each and every one of us, our strength as human beings. But let me tell you, it's not just about the physical strength that we often think of. It's about the inner strength, the will, the determination that drives us forward when the odds seem insurmountable. The limitations of human strength are not just about how much we can lift or how far we can run, but how we rise up from our setbacks and keep moving forward despite the heavy weight of adversity. You see, we are often taught to believe that strength is something unbreakable, something that once you've achieved it, it stays with you forever. But the truth is, human strength is limited. We are not invincible. We have our breaking points, moments when the pressure becomes so intense that we feel like we can't go any further. And yet, there's something remarkable that happens when we reach those moments. In those moments of feeling weak, in those moments of exhaustion and doubt, that's when we discover the true depth of our strength. The limitations of human strength are not to be feared, they are to be understood. There's power in acknowledging our vulnerability. There's strength in recognizing that we don't have to be perfect. In fact, it's precisely our imperfections that make us human. Our imperfections create space for growth, for resilience, and for learning. The fact that we can break and then rebuild stronger and wiser than before is one of the greatest demonstrations of human strength. But this doesn't mean we can't push beyond those limitations. The key lies not in denying the limits, but in pushing through them. It's about finding the courage to go beyond what you think you can do, to look at a mountain and say, I'm going to climb it anyway. When you push beyond what you think are your limits, you start to discover a new version of yourself, one that is more capable, more adaptable, and more resourceful than you ever imagined. Human strength also has a remarkable ability to adapt. There are moments when we feel like we've hit a wall, like we're at the end of our rope, but somehow we find the strength to keep going. The body, the mind, the spirit, we're stretched, will find new ways to meet the challenge. We learn to innovate, to be flexible, and to come up with creative solutions in the face of adversity. Strength is not just about brute force, it's about persistence, adaptability, and the ability to stay in the fight no matter how tough things get. One of the most powerful aspects of human strength is its connection to the people around us. We often underestimate how much our environment shapes our ability to endure. The strength of a community, a family, a team, it fuels our own strength. The limitations we face alone can become manageable when we lean on others, share our burdens, and draw strength from those who walk beside us. In fact, sometimes our strength is not about standing alone in the face of difficulty, but about knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to rely on the support of others. It's in our connection with others that we truly realize the power of human strength. As we acknowledge the limitations of human strength, we also begin to realize that our true strength lies not in overcoming every challenge with ease, but in the way we rise from failure, the way we rise from pain. Our strength is defined not by how many times we stand tall, but by how many times we get back up after falling down. And sometimes the true power of our strength doesn't become evident until we are tested in ways we never imagined. In the grand scheme of things, we may not be able to stop the storms that come our way, but we can control how we respond to them. The limitations of human strength are not a mark of weakness, they are a reminder that strength is a process. It's about endurance, it's about the fight that we never give up on, even when it feels like the battle is already lost. The human spirit, with all its limitations, can still achieve greatness, not by avoiding weakness, but by embracing it and using it as a stepping stone to rise higher, to push forward, to fight on. So the next time you feel like you are up against your limits, remember, it's not about being invincible, it's about being resilient, it's about accepting that limitations are a part of life, but they do not define who you are or what you are capable of. The limitations of human strength are not something to be feared, they are something to be embraced. And in embracing them, you will discover that your strength is far greater than you ever realized. He knows the bigger picture. In life, it's easy to get lost in the small details, to focus on the immediate challenges, the hurdles that seem so insurmountable in the moment. But what if I told you that there's a bigger picture? What if I told you that the struggles you face, the disappointments, the setbacks are all part of a grand design, one that you may not yet fully understand? That's what you need to remember today. He knows the bigger picture. We often find ourselves frustrated because we can't see beyond the present. We get caught up in what's right in front of us, the obstacles, the roadblocks, the questions that have no answers. We question why things happen the way they do, and we wonder why we have to go through what we're going through. But the truth is, in these moments of doubt, the one thing we need to remember is that He knows the bigger picture. You might be facing challenges right now that seem overwhelming. You might be dealing with heartbreak, disappointment, failure, or confusion. You may wonder why everything feels like it's falling apart. But the reality is, what feels like a setback right now could be the foundation for something greater. What seems like a loss could be a stepping stone to a future that's beyond anything you've ever imagined. The difficulties you are facing today are not random, they are part of a much larger, more intricate plan, one that has been carefully orchestrated, even if you can't see the full scope of it. He knows the bigger picture. He sees the end result while you're still in the process. He sees the potential in you that you cannot yet see. While you may feel small, insignificant, or stuck, He knows exactly where you're headed. Each moment of hardship, each trial is building something greater in you. It's molding you into the person you need to be for the next phase of your life. Each difficulty is preparing you for the greatness that is yet to come. This is not a time to give up. It's a time to trust. Trust that even when things aren't going your way, even when you can't understand the purpose of your struggles, there is a larger plan unfolding. Trust that He, with all His wisdom, understands the bigger picture. Trust that what you're going through right now is not the final chapter, but just one part of the journey, a journey that will lead you to a place of success, peace, and fulfillment. You might not be able to control everything around you, but you can control your attitude toward it. You can choose to believe that there is a higher purpose, that your challenges are not in vain, and that every step, even the painful ones, is leading you toward a destiny that's waiting for you. Keep moving forward with faith because He knows what you can't see. Sometimes it takes a little perspective to understand that the small, seemingly insignificant parts of your story are integral to the bigger picture. It's easy to get bogged down in frustration when we feel like we're not where we want to be. But if you take a moment and step back, you might just begin to see that these challenges are the lessons, the growth, the strength you need to carry you into your future. It's all part of the process. You are being prepared. You are being equipped. And you are not alone in this journey. The bigger picture is unfolding every single day, and you are right in the middle of it. Everything that you are going through is leading you to where you need to be. So don't get discouraged. Don't lose hope. Keep pressing forward, trusting that He knows what you don't yet understand, that He has already seen your future and has a plan that's beyond your wildest dreams. The pain you are feeling today will be the strength you rely on tomorrow. The questions you ask today will lead you to the answers you need for tomorrow. And when you look back, you will see that every single step, every twist and turn was necessary to get you to the place where you were meant to be. Remember, He knows the bigger picture. And that's all you need to know to keep moving forward with confidence. The power of faith in the unknown. The power of faith in the unknown is a force that transcends the limitations of our human understanding. It is a belief that holds the potential to shape our destiny in ways we cannot always see or predict. When faced with uncertainty, when standing at the edge of a vast unseen future, it is faith that will give us the courage to take the first step. Faith in the unknown is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting in the process even when the road ahead is unclear. Often we are conditioned to seek control, to plan, to predict every outcome. But in reality, life doesn't always work that way. There will be moments when the answers are not immediately available, when we are called to leap into what feels like the abyss. But in those moments, it is the strength of our faith that will carry us through. Faith in the unknown challenges us to embrace uncertainty, to recognize that our true potential is not limited by what we can already see or understand. It is in the unknown where true growth happens. Think of the moments in your life when you took a risk, when you ventured beyond your comfort zone and you emerged stronger, wiser, more confident. Those moments weren't marked by certainty, but by the courage to trust in what couldn't be seen. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that you must take a leap, but seeing nothing but emptiness beneath you. Your mind races, your heart pounds, and yet you feel an inexplicable pull forward. That pull, my friends, is faith. It's the belief that something greater is on the other side. It's the belief that no matter what, you will be able to handle whatever comes your way. Faith turns that leap into a flight. It gives you the wings you didn't know you had. Faith in the unknown is not passive. It is an active force. It requires that you move, that you act, even when fear is present. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward in spite of it. It is in the face of uncertainty that our most powerful actions can be born. And sometimes it's the very act of moving forward without knowing the outcome that creates the miracles we never expected. When you trust in the unknown, you release the need to control every detail. You surrender to the flow of life, and in doing so, you open yourself up to the endless possibilities that await. It's in this space of surrender that the universe can work its magic. Things begin to align in ways you couldn't have predicted. Opportunities appear out of nowhere, relationships blossom, and the doors that once seemed locked are suddenly open. But you must first step out in faith, believing that even though you cannot see the path, it is there, waiting for you to walk it. Faith in the unknown teaches you patience. It reminds you that some things take time. You may not understand why things unfold the way they do, but trust that every twist, every turn is part of the journey. The unknown is not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. Because in that space of uncertainty, you are being shaped, molded into the person you were always meant to become. It's easy to have faith when things are clear, when the outcome is obvious, when the path is well lit. But real faith comes when things are murky, when the future is uncertain, when the world seems to be spinning in chaos. It's in these moments that you must dig deep within yourself and hold on to the belief that something greater is at work, something bigger than your understanding, something that is leading you toward your highest good. The power of faith in the unknown lies in its ability to transform the very fabric of our lives. It shifts us from a place of fear and doubt to a place of possibility and hope. It encourages us to believe that our best days are not behind us, but ahead of us, waiting for us to step into them. It tells us that we are capable of more than we can imagine, that there are endless opportunities and experiences yet to be discovered. So when you face the unknown, when you stand on the precipice of change, remember that faith is your anchor. Trust in the unseen, trust in the process, and trust in your own ability to navigate the twists and turns of life. For it is through the power of faith that we conquer the unknown and unlock the fullness of our potential. Trusting God's timing, not ours. When we talk about trusting God's timing, we are diving into a deep, sometimes difficult concept, one that requires patience, faith, and surrender. We live in a world where everything moves at a rapid pace. Instant gratification is not just encouraged, expected. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with notifications, demands, and pressures. The world tells us to keep pushing, to act fast, to seize opportunities the moment they arise. Yet in the midst of all this hustle, we are often left with an unsettling question: why do things seem to take so long? Why doesn't it feel like things are happening when we want them to? The truth is that this is a struggle for many, and it's the battle between our timing and God's perfect timing. God's timing doesn't operate on a schedule. It doesn't run by the same clock we do. His timeline is not based on our fears, our impatience, or our pressures. It's based on His wisdom, His perfect plan, and His understanding of what is best for us. There are moments in life when we pray for something and it seems like nothing is happening. We pour our hearts out asking for change, for progress, for a breakthrough, yet time and time again it seems as though we are waiting in vain. But this is where faith truly begins. Trusting God's timing means understanding that just because we don't see immediate results doesn't mean God is not at work. When we face these times of uncertainty, we must remind ourselves that what is happening in the physical world is not the full picture. The Lord is working behind the scenes, preparing us for what is ahead. Just as a seed needs time to grow, develop, and mature before it can bear fruit, so too does every situation in our lives. You see, God's timing is not only about when things will happen, but also about how they will happen and why they need to unfold in the way they do. In His wisdom, He is positioning us, guiding us, and sometimes even withholding things from us, because in His plan, there is always a perfect timing for our development and our destiny. It is in those moments of waiting that we are being refined. Think about gold. Gold doesn't become valuable by just being found. It must first be put through the fire. It must go through a refining process that removes impurities and strengthens it. The waiting period is the refining fire in our lives. In those times, God is shaping our character, building our patience, and preparing our hearts for the blessings that are yet to come. Trusting God's timing means believing that this process is happening, even when we can't see the end result. God is never early, and He's never late. He's always on time. But here's where it gets challenging. God's time doesn't always line up with our own. We can't always understand why things are happening at the moment they are. But if we trust in the process, if we trust in His wisdom, we can know that what seems like a delay is actually part of the bigger picture. It's part of the unfolding story of our lives. When we look back on our journey, we can often see how every event, every setback, every moment of waiting was exactly what we needed to bring us to the place where we could handle the blessing God had for us. We can also be sure that God's timing is not just about us, it's about others too. We often look at our own situations and wonder, why me? Why now? But the reality is that we are not just living for ourselves. God's timing works not just in our lives, but in the lives of those around us. Our waiting period is sometimes meant to align with others' needs, others' growth, and others' development. We are part of a bigger divine picture that goes beyond our own understanding. Trusting in God's timing means trusting that He knows what's best not just for us, but for everyone involved in His plan for our lives. It's also essential to remember that the absence of a visible answer does not mean God has forgotten us. It does not mean we are being neglected. If anything, it is a call to deepen our faith, to grow in patience, and to learn to trust in a way that doesn't rely on immediate rewards or visible outcomes. We are called to trust in God's promises, knowing that they are true, even when we don't see them come to fruition right away. He has not abandoned us. He is simply inviting us to lean into Him more, to seek Him more, and to rely on Him more fully. In this way, our faith is strengthened, our hearts are enlarged, and our understanding of God's goodness deepens. Think of the stories in the Bible. Abraham had to wait years for the promise of a son. Joseph endured years of suffering and imprisonment before seeing his dreams come to pass. Moses wandered in the wilderness for 40 years before leading the Israelites into the promised land. Each of these stories is a testament to the power of trusting God's timing. In their waiting, they experience growth. They experience struggles. They experience setbacks. But ultimately, they experience the fulfillment of God's promises in His perfect time. And just like them, we are all called to trust that God's plan for us will come to pass at the right time, His time. So if you are in a season of waiting, I want to encourage you today, do not lose heart. Do not give in to impatience or doubt. Do not measure your worth by the things you have or haven't achieved. Instead, trust in God's timing. Trust that He is working behind the scenes even when you cannot see it. Trust that He is positioning you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And when the time comes, you will see that everything, every trial, every delay, and every moment of waiting was necessary for the beautiful plan He has for your life. In the end, trusting God's timing is an act of surrender. It's surrendering our own plans, our own timeline, and our own desire for control and replacing it with the confidence that God is the one in charge. It's knowing that He sees the whole picture while we only see a piece of it. And because of that, we can rest assured that His timing is always perfect. Always. In closing, I want to remind you that when we leave everything in God's hands, we are not relinquishing control and defeat, but gaining peace and surrender. We're not admitting that we are powerless, but acknowledging that God is all powerful. When we trust in His plan, His timing, and His provision, we experience a freedom that surpasses understanding. It's the freedom to let go of worry, the freedom to stop striving for things that are beyond our reach, and the freedom to move forward with confidence that God is in control. God has a purpose for your life, and that purpose is far greater than anything you can imagine. The challenges you face today are not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new chapter written by the one who knows the plans He has for you. So trust Him. Let go of the things you cannot change, surrender your fears, and place every part of your life in hands. When you do, you will find peace, purpose, and an unwavering confidence that comes only from knowing that you are exactly where God wants you to be. I challenge you today, take that step of faith. Trust that the one who created the universe has your future secure, and leave everything in His capable hands. When you do, you will experience a life of abundance and peace that you never thought possible.